Are you a producer looking to make samples for artists like Forbats and Brent Fayez? Stay tuned because I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in this video.
Okay, so first off, we're using the Beauty of Bleakness preset by Mini 5. And essentially, we just lay down these chords, these short chords, and we are using the key of A minor, and we have our tempo set to 97. And this is what it sounds like. So basically what we did here was we routed it to a mixer channel, we panned it to the right a little bit, and we leveled it. And then we added some Valhalla Vintage Verb with the mix knob set to 74.4% or 0.81 second delay. And we have it set to the concert hall setting. We're using an EQ that looks like this, cutting the highs and the lows. And then we are using another hard EQ just to cut the lows. Now we are adding an accent melody by using the Synclavier 5 using the Cherry Syn preset. That sounds like this. Okay, so essentially what we did here was we turned the mix knob down and we panned it to the right just a little bit. We added some Valhalla Vintage Verb with these settings here. And then we added a Fruity Vintage or Fruity Phaser. And then we also added a shaper box with a auto pan that looks like this. And then we added Valhalla Supermassive on the Gemini mode with the following settings. And lastly, an EQ. And then we added this guitar melody by using the Whirly 5 on the Mama Told Whirly preset. Sounds like that. And this is the pattern that we came up with. So essentially what we did was we put it in a mixer channel, we adjusted the mixer, we added some Guitar Rig 6 with the Timeless Clean preset, and then we added some Valhalla Vintage Verb on the Now Color plate mode. And then we added some RC20, turning the noise all the way off and the distortion all the way off. And then we added some EQ, and then we added some shaper box, doing a panning motion like this, and then we added some widening. And then we added this pad noise called Artistic Facts from the Prophet VS5. Okay, so essentially what we did was we added it to a mixer, we panned it to the left a little bit, and then we added some vintage verb with the following settings on the concert hall once again. And then we added some shaper box and adding some auto pan, but this time we're checking it to every 2 bars. Then we added another widening automation. And then we added some EQ like that, and then a little bit more EQ, just cleaning up the low end. Now for the bass, Scarby Rickenbacker Bass Palm Muted is my go-to for any R&B song or sample, and we're using this Night Session preset, and this is what it sounds like. I don't do much processing to my bass. Just make sure you put it in mono and cut some of the high end with some EQ. So essentially what I did for this vocal was I added it to a mixer channel. I added some EQ, or auto tune I should say, with the alto tenor preset. Anyways, you can just copy these presets or these settings here. I added some EQ that looks like this, a de-esser. I added some LA2A compression along with another LA2A compression, and then I added a sound shifter, pitching it up an octave, with the mix knob set to 45%. I also added another one, an octave lower, and then the mix knob is also set to 46%. And then we added a shaper box widening automation that looks like this, and lastly, an EQ to really just condense and degrade that sound. And then we added to a reverb mix plus, turning the signal all the way up. And then we added some stereo separation, and then we added these settings for Valhalla Vintage Verb, some EQ, and lastly, an auto pin in Picture. A key to making these types of samples is adding some textures, and how you can do this is honestly just by adding a bunch of different effects to a single sound, whether you created that from scratch, reverse something, or just added granulizer to any of your sounds. You can really just get creative with it. I will do a video on that in the future, but it is essential when making these ambient samples.
If you enjoyed this video and you learned something, comment down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next video.